Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this week, we're going to be doing a baseball check-in because Ethan and Dave are back after we did our preseason breakdown of the Major League Baseball season for 2022. Thank you both for coming back on after 2 months to see where the hell things are falling into place baseball-wise.
Thank you for having me. It's going crazy right now.
Always a pleasure.
There you go. Well, we figured that we'd start things off by kind of just sharing some general thoughts about the season. So, Dave, what are some of your just general thoughts about baseball so far this season?
In general, I'd have to say one of the things that sticks out to me, and I'm sure you guys would agree with this, is seeing how many balloon calls there have been by the umpires. I know it's been a discussion for the past few years now with them talking about, letting the balls and strikes be called electronically. But, now more than ever, with that kind of being pushed forward, which only seems inevitable at this point, plus, with the technology we have, you can easily see on the replays every single pitch, whether it's a ball or a strike, and how badly they missed it. I mean, it just feels like, especially this season, it seems to be in the limelight. I feel like it's only making us go faster towards having an automated strike zone.
Angel Hernandez.
There are too many Angel Hernandez in major leagues right now. It's bad.
Yeah, Dave, I think you're right. Eventually, they're just going to have computers calling balls and strikes because I think Major League Baseball is getting to the point where they're going to care more about the entertainment value of things and keeping fans watching versus the traditional integrity of the game. Because honestly, umpires, I think, are still around only because it's tradition. Because, if they really cared about, making sure that the calls are being made properly, they would have been gone a while ago. So I think at some point in the next couple of years, that's probably going to be a big thing.
Colorado's perfect game.
I just saw somebody reshare
it's the anniversary. Yep. It was a week or so ago. It was the anniversary of the blown call.
Was that 10 years ago?
Yeah, 10 or 12. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect game with an asterisk.
No, that shit was a perfect game. I don't give a damn what anybody says. It was a freaking perfect game.
He beat that man to the first base. It was very obvious.
By enough. Yeah. Whatever.
Terrible. How about you, Ethan? What are some things that stuck out to you so far about this season?
Now that I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the standings throughout the league, and there's so many teams that are just at 500 or below. I don't remember last time that you've seen so many teams like that. You got 2 teams under 500 in the AL East. You have 4 teams under 500 in the AL Central. I think we all knew that was going to happen because they suck.
The White Sox were going to be the team in first place, though.
The AL West right now, after last night's loss to the Phillies, the Angels are at 500. So they have 4 teams at or below 500 in the AL West.
Lost 10 in a row.
That's why I'm not getting too excited about the Phillies. They're playing a team that's taking a dump. And then you're looking at the NL East, same thing.
Literally the same thing.
5, the Braves, 27 and 27. So every team under that's 4 teams 500 or lower. Just at 500, exactly 500 or lower. And then the NL Central, there's 3 below. And then the NL West is obviously another one that's like you have 3 teams over 500.
They're
but the
literally
Diamondbacks are knocking on 500.
they should be 27-27 right now, but then they gave up a 2-run walk-off home run last night when they were winning 1-0 against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
It's okay, Shane. That the Phillies have blown God knows how many. I think
we could talk about bullpens because Mark Melanson and his 6 ERA still is the closer for the Diamondbacks, and that makes a whole lot of sense. I literally typed in MLB.com, pulled it up. I'm like, oh my God, the Diamondbacks are winning 1-0 in the bottom of the 9th inning. And I clicked on the game day application and it popped up first pitch to literally the first pitch that popped up on like the little batter thing was blue and was like no outs. I'm sorry, it wasn't no outs, it was runs. And I'm like, and then it popped up 2-run home run. And I'm just like,
this is what happened.
They just lost. They just lost that game. Wow.
If your team's winning and you're not watching it, you do not put anything on because that's when they lose.
So I'm bad luck and you're going to hate me for this, but I literally did the same exact thing. That 4th game the Phillies were playing the Dodgers. I turned on the game day thing right when the Phillies blew it in the 9th inning. I'm like, wow.
Stay away from it all, please. Thank you.
As you can see, baseball fans are very superstitious, and that could only not be a coincidence that happened both times I did that.
Well, you also left, and the Phillies blew the game, and then
we left and they lost. So
it's all you, Shane.
For the record, you were the one who said to leave the last time.
I did say that. Because it's hot with balls and I don't feel like it anymore. I had cheesesteak all over me.
So
my pants were freaking God. You could wring them out. Like I was able to wring them out when we got home.
So Dave, we're gonna be in a pickle on the 12th because I might want to leave. Because I might want the Phillies to blow it.
That's when they won't. That's when they won't, because you want it to happen, so it won't happen that way. So leave.
We'll have to see, because Phillies Diamondbacks next weekend. Or, well, I'm posting this. This will come out after they play, so we're gonna have to find out who won. But so. Some of the things that have stuck out to me so far is the atrocious state of bullpens, just in general in baseball, and the horrible stamina of starting pitchers in baseball. One of these two things is going to have to give, right? Because, like, you can't have pitchers that only last 5-6 innings and then have horrible bullpens across the league, because that's just gonna be bad.
Correct.
Bad for baseball.
Do what Thompson did. Leave Eflin until the 8th inning, when he would have been pulled out in the 6th.
I think that's gonna, like, I don't get why this hasn't been this thing yet, because like legitimately, how many teams can you both think of that have like stellar bullpens?
Yankees.
And I think the Astros. Because I think the Astros bullpen ERA is even lower than their starters. And they have the best ERA in baseball.
Well, maybe Brewers might be, right? They have
Hader.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's just him that's good, but I mean, they're 33-22, so.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because like, and I can guarantee you, if you check, probably all the teams that are in a good place right now have good bullpens. And as Ethan stated, there's not that many great teams in baseball. right now. There's like legitimately so I want to look at all the teams that are actually 10 games above 500, which I would say at this point they're pretty great.
4 or 5.
San Diego, the Dodgers, Milwaukee, the Mets, which they definitely have a great bullpen because Diaz comes in and shuts the door.
He's been on
Houston, and like the Yankees, and then Toronto and Tampa are pretty close too. But like, there's not a ton of teams, and like even the Yankees, Chapman's not been pitching the greatest this season, but the rest of their bullpen's ridiculous. Honestly, everything the Yankees are doing right now is just ridiculous. Like they just keep finding ways to win. Doesn't matter. It's like Judge has 22 home runs already. He's on pace for 64. Matt Carpenter has hit 4 home runs out of 5 hits to start his career as a Yankee.
Because he uppercuts everything.
Did you hear Jim Cott call Cortez Nestor the Molester?
Yes.
These old guys need to know that they can't say this shit anymore.
And I think he pretty quickly apologized after that.
He did. But still.
What I meant was he's molesting that strike zone so bad that these guys are just walking back to the dugout shaking their head.
It was 100% because of his mustache. Like 100%. 100%. Which now Matt Carpenter also has.
They need, all right. This needs that whole clean cut bullshit needs to go because I don't want to look at that shit anymore. It's like, it's legitimately like in the military where you can't have facial hair in most aspects of the military. Mm-hmm. So when Uncle Joe was, in the military, everybody had mustaches. It's not a good look for everybody.
No, honestly, a bunch of them look like Fava. Super Troopers.
Yeah, some people just need to let it go and have no facial hair.
And nobody wants to be Farva.
No.
Some of the other things I've noticed, there's a lot of starting pitchers with really low ERAs this season. And I think it's the growing issue in baseball where they really don't care about batting average and really just care about hitting home runs and like power because
an outs and out is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
if you're slow and you strike out, that's better than a double play when you got somebody on first base. So strike out or hit a home run, whatever.
Well, here's the thing. There's nobody on first base because everybody
striking out.
It's like teams like the Phillies. I know we've had this conversation. In what world do you have a leadoff man batting 197?
In a world where he can hit a home run on the first pitch of the game.
What happened to baseball? Like, in what world? Well, Aaron Judge is batting like 320 or something. But, like, why is he a leadoff man?
This is a thing, though. This is in the National League. That's a National League, like, batting average, small ball.
Not anymore. They have a DH.
Yeah, it's not like even before that, they started doing shit like that. And I understand like what certain coaches do. Like they'll put a guy that can hit a home run, start shit already. Like they did that with Jimmy Rollins, but Jimmy Rollins could hit. Like he had a lot of leadoff. He had a lot of leadoff home runs, but they're looking at like, all right, Schwarber's going to hit. There's a pretty high chance that he's going to hit a home run and get the offense going, and then they don't.
It's like out of everybody in that lineup, if they're healthy, why is Segura not your leadoff man?
That I don't know because he puts the ball like he at least puts bat on ball more than I think anybody on that team.
Like, I could kind of see why the Yankees put Judge, because, like, he does legitimately have the highest batting average on the team, despite the fact that he's also, like, demolishing the ball. But, like, most power hitters today aren't that.
Nope.
And, like, and this is more of like a personal thing that I appreciated so far this season, is the fact that Paul Goldschmidt is batting 345, and he's notorious for having horrible starts to the season. He's like a slow starter. So, like, I'm a little like, what's he going to look like by the end of the season if he's putting up these kinds of numbers already?
Hopefully it's not the exact opposite.
Well, I'm sure the Cardinals are hoping it's not the exact opposite. His hitting streak ended. They walked him more than half of his at-bats yesterday.
How long was that? Wasn't it like 25 games?
25 games.
That's bull.
That's impressive.
Like, I understand you're trying to win a game, but that's straight up shady bullshit. Okay? Like,
yeah. To be fair, he did get 2 plate appearances and didn't get a hit at either of those, but, like, they also walked him every other one.
yeah.
And that's crazy, because not only was he getting a bunch of hits, but his on-base percentage was going nuts because they kept walking him the past, like, 5-6 games.
Yeah, get that on-base percentage up, man. Like,
and it's not like and he has Nolan Arenado behind him. So, like, play that game.
Yeah.
Full around, find out. So
They should change it so if you intentionally walk a guy, he goes to second base.
Don't start throwing these crazy rules, Dave. They might listen, like putting a person on second base in extra innings.
They don't listen to anybody. If they did, baseball would be completely different right now.
But it's so interesting. Well, it's no longer, because it was just New York and LA killing it this season, and then the Angels just but it's still the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Yankees. And I'm really shocked that the Mets are keeping this up without DeGrom or Scherzer right now.
And you have to out-hit everybody.
I didn't think they had an offense, to be honest. But I guess Alonso and Lindor are both hitting. Let's think about some of the players that you think are having some of the most surprisingly good seasons that you probably didn't expect.
I'd say it's Jose Ramirez, right? For the Guardians.
Yeah.
He's on pace for 172 RBIs. When was the last time somebody had like that, like over 150? That's back like when Ryan Howard was playing and people legitimately hit 50 home runs and then 3 times more RBIs. Now it's like, I'm going to hit 40 home runs and have 95 RBIs.
Or hit 35 home runs and have 70 RBIs. Like Kyle Schwarber.
That's what happens when no one's on base, but apparently the ducks are on the pond.
You know what's crazy? Ramirez is now tied for the RBI lead with Pete Alonso.
Ducks are on the pond when Pete Alonso comes up, apparently.
And Pete Alonso has 16 home runs now and has second most home runs in baseball, behind Judge.
The honorable Aaron.
Yeah, him and Mookie Betts both have 16 home runs. And then Paul Goldschmidt has 47 RBIs too. So, and Lindor has 45 RBIs. So that's why the Mets are winning.
Yeah. So the guys that are supposed to be productive are being productive.
That's, good for Jose Ramirez, especially because, like, it's not like he's banged 298, 14 home runs, 53 RBIs, and 7 stolen bases.
He doesn't look like a stolen base guy, but
Yeah.
He's 5'9" and 190 pounds.
He's not a big dude.
Well, the Guardians don't seem to be having like the best season, but
they're still there though.
That's true.
That's the sad part.
That's because the White Sox are definitely underperforming. And then who the hell thought that Rocco Baldelli and the Minnesota Twins would be in first place?
Yeah, 31-24. The Twins.
There you go. He's definitely somebody that I'm surprised is like way out in front in terms of baseball and stuff like that.
He's good. He's a good player, but those kind of stats and the projections, even though no one keeps up that pace, it's not Barry Bonds, but like it's still impressive.
It is really impressive. How about you, Dave? Who's somebody you think's having a surprisingly great season?
Well, we already touched on him a little bit earlier, but for me, it was Paul Goldschmidt. It's, kind of like what you said, especially considering he's one of those guys who has a slow start. I didn't even realize till I think they were just talking about it on TV last night that he had that hitting streak going. And I usually don't expect that from guys, especially, this season, it seems like a lot of guys especially got off to a really bad start. I don't know if it was because of the whole lockout thing, throwing off the timing of the season starting, but it just seems like a lot of players that are like similar to him are in like pretty bad slumps, and maybe some of them are like starting to come out of it, but it seems like especially this year, it's really rare that you see a player that just like came out of the gate firing, like they're just hitting on all cylinders, doing what you expect them to do, or even exceeding that benchmark. But I think given that the start of this season was a bit different than normal, especially, I think what he's been doing for his team is really good.
Well, and I'm pretty sure between like the Cardinals and the Padres are the only like second place teams in the National League that are legitimately playing well. And like the Cardinals are really hanging in there. He's batting 243. I'm sorry, 342, 12 home runs, 47 RBIs, 3 stolen bases with an OPS of 1037. So like he's on pace. He could get like 35 home runs, 140 RBIs. And those are some sweet Paul Goldschmidt numbers.
Yeah.
And he's usually like in a good season, a 300 hitter. So like him batting at 340 at this point, it's pretty great.
I still think that's pretty impressive. Freaking first baseman. No one does that at first base. They're just being home runs.
Well, that's very interesting because this season I'm looking at the top 10. I'm looking at the batting average leaders. Out of the top 7, 3 of them are first basemen. And Luis Arraez from the Twins is batting 342 with 1 home run and 13 RBIs. And then
at first base?
Yep.
What?
And then Ty France from the Mariners is batting 335, 7 home runs and 36 RBIs. So
hey.
That's
production.
Hey, Harper's still top 15 in batting average. Good for him. Also,
he has a bunch of solo jobs.
Josh Bell is batting 303, and Eric Hosmer's batting 299. So
didn't you get rid of Josh Bell?
Didn't
you get rid of Josh Bell?
I had too many first basemen. Like, legitimately, Christian Walker's putting up better numbers than him. Because here's the thing. Josh Bell's batting 303 with 5 home runs.
Ew, never mind.
With 29 RBIs. So, like, he's not putting up power numbers anymore this season. But I'm pretty sure he's going to get traded this year.
Well, I don't understand that whole thing, why they had him in the first place. But,
Oh, why the Nationals traded for him?
Yeah. Why?
Made no sense.
Just suck really bad. Get draft picks. That's how you got Bryce Harper. And Strasburg. Suck.
Yeah.
And Zimmerman.
You know, it's another Chris Bryant story. Like, your team sucks. Why are you spending this money getting this person? And look, Rockies are in last place, and they're the only like legitimately playing bad team. Because apparently the Diamondbacks are in the top 7 teams in baseball in terms of runs and extra base hits. I'm like, wow.
I guess it's the pitchers, huh?
It's also their bullpen sucks. It's such a problem. Such a problem. The player for me who's having like a surprisingly great season, who would have thought Nestor Cortez was going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball this season?
That's actually probably like the best pick.
Because he has 5 wins. He has an ERA of 1.50. He strikes out a ton of people. Yeah, I want to pull up and bring up the strikeout leaders. He's tied for 11th in the majors with 68 Ks. Also, he's on the same team as Garrett Cole, who's tied for 3rd. So, and also good for Cole, who's bouncing back this season after that was a weird season last season where they're like, did he really like cheat to get like that good when he was in Houston? And
he did this for me all year.
Yep.
I was like, what am I going to get today?
And also the major league leader in Ks is Shane McClanahan from the Tampa Bay Rays.
He's not Irish.
My internet's getting slow. I'm trying to pull up his specific numbers because like I want to see if he's actually like winning games and stuff like that. Well, he's 6-2 with a 2.10 ERA and struck out 89 people.
I'd say that's pretty damn good. Wheeler's up there, isn't he?
Nola is actually number 5 with 79 Ks. Wheeler is tied for 14th with 67, so he's up there too.
And that was all last month. His strikeouts were all last month, like 40. What, he had 47?
Yeah. So try to guess who's leading the majors in innings pitched.
Zach Eflin. He's doing pretty well, but I doubt it.
He's not in the top 25.
Ooh. Innings, huh?
Sandy Alcantara from the Marlins has pitched 74 2/3 innings.
Damn.
He's 6-2 with a 1.81 ERA. Like if they really care, they probably could trade him for a ton this trade deadline.
Was it Alcantara or was it somebody else that the Phillies traded away for Realmuto?
Sanchez. Sixto Sanchez.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say.
I think he's still with them, though.
Yeah.
Then Max Fried, Corbin Burns, Aaron Nola, and Pablo Lopez. Oh, no. Sorry. Nola, Pablo Lopez, Joe Musgrove, Logan Webb are all tied with like 66 innings. Hey, look, the Giants left Logan Webb in that game we went to into the 9th inning, and he gave up 3 runs. So
sometimes it happens, okay? Like, you need to let your guys go. And I was really happy to see that Thompson let Eflin at least go, like, finish the 8th inning.
Yeah.
Because after the 7th inning, when he got a couple of guys on, he had guys on the corners, I was like, shit. And then they put him back out in the 8th inning, and he didn't.
And you know what? They were winning 10-0.
Yeah, like.
So let him pitch.
That's what they need to keep doing, though.
Like, it was funny seeing Pujols and Yadier Molina pitch.
Yeah.
But, like, that crap needs to stop. Like, let your pitchers pitch. Also, Do you have Tyler Anderson in fantasy, Ethan, who has 7 wins and leads the majors in wins from the Dodgers?
I may.
Yep, there you go. Let's talk about some people doing bad. So go ahead, Ethan.
I know this firsthand, except it's picking up a little bit. That's why I picked him back up. Marcus Semien is dead ass. Okay. I still can't find the analytics breakdown on him. But he legitimately turned into the worst baseball player in the major leagues. Up until he's starting to wake up a little bit.
He's batting 191 with 2 home runs and 18 RBIs.
But up until a couple weeks ago, he had no home runs.
Yeah. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
He hit those home runs.
That's the thing. Like, these stats that I was looking at, it's literally it was absolutely horrible. You go from, and that's what I thought was going to be a bad thing for him. He goes from all of that protection from Oakland. He had a bunch of guys that could hit around him. Mm-hmm. He goes to another team, same thing. The Blue Jays. And then you get some extra money and you decide, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play for the freaking Texas Rangers, where I have maybe one guy around me. And that turned into a shit show for him. He has no one to protect him at all. So he's just getting people can pitch to him any way they want to. And he's feeding into it. And his stats, even up till now, is still god-awful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the worst performances ever by a player.
Yeah, not great. You know what? He made me think of Chris Davis too.
Yeah, they were actually worse numbers than Chris Davis, I think. Projected, if he kept up those stats, it would have been the worst performance ever.
Is Chris Davis even in the majors?
No, I think he retired.
Alrighty, so Dave, who's your player who's playing really bad?
Well, this one I can say because I briefly had him on my fantasy team and had to get rid of him because he was just doing nothing, and that's Joey Votto.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you'd expect him to be in a decline, but not as sharp as it's been this season. I figured a guy with, pretty well-known guy like that. I mean, I know his team as a whole, you're not expecting much from this year with Cincinnati, with all it seems like they're getting rid of just about everybody. But I thought at least his individual numbers would have still been pretty decent. But I mean, I'm pulling up his numbers here now. He's still batting under 200.
He's batting 182.
And he's hitting almost no home runs. He's only got 4 so far this year.
Jeez.
That is just a sharp decline for him.
Yeah, he fell right off that mountain.
Sure did. Not great. Mine is Robinson Cano.
Robbie Cano, don't you know? He got released by the Padres.
Yeah.
After they just signed him. He was bad. Real bad. He's batting 149 this season with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. Wow, what a very expensive trash player. Oh man.
And the Mets owe that shit.
And an honorable mention to Dallas Keuchel.
That dude has been in the decline since he left.
Well, Houston. And to be fair, he definitely didn't have the kind of out of the 3 we mentioned, Semien had the least amount of peak. But like Joey Votto and Robinson Cano were like peak players at their positions for a long time.
Yeah.
And have just completely fallen off a cliff, especially
like,
Cano.
Keuchel really, he didn't have a whole lot of years where he's like transcendent above the league. But it's still like, damn, he just, right when he left Houston, his numbers just went, it was a decline the whole time. And now it's really bad.
Well, they had to get rid of him. And like the White Sox have been trying out Johnny Cueto too.
Not doing very well.
No, not either. I'm taking a look here real quick. So Keuchel's been pitching in the majors since 2012.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 20-win season in 2015. And then he pitched really, really, really well during the 2020 shortened season. And then the past 2 seasons have been trash. So, not great. But those are some individual achievements and not so achievement. Well, I guess they're achievements. They're just not good ones. But so let's think about some of the teams. So who's our most surprised performing teams in the majors so far?
The Mets. And I'll say it because of this. They don't have Scherzer or DeGrom, and they're freaking lighting up everybody.
Mm-hmm.
No one's like Diaz is good. Don't get me wrong, but his numbers are friggin' insane this year.
Yep.
And I guess everybody's hit. Like even Jeff McNeil got a fire under his ass. And he's doing some things too. So they have little guys and the guys that they're paying. Well, Alonso doesn't have a contract, I don't think. I don't think he has something like
under arbitration.
Robbie Cano or Lindor numbers. But he's the guy that's supposed to be producing anyway, whether he has a high contract or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys that are supposed to be hitting are hitting. And they're just outscoring everybody. And then, I think that's the most. I don't see any other team where I'm like, I didn't see that coming.
When we do this at the end of July into August, and we're 4 months into the season, I'm going to be interested to see where the Mets are. But like, hey, they're doing some great things without the 2 best pitchers in baseball. So
that's saying something, but when they get them back, they're going to not hit. I guarantee it. Just watch.
Dave, who's your overachieving team?
I guess I'll go with the other New York team, the Yankees. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't expect them to do well, just not this well. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the standings now, and, you have below them the Blue Jays and the Rays, who are both doing really well themselves. They're not like just barely above 500. They're both
division leaders elsewhere.
Yeah, like I expected those 2 teams to be the best, but the Yankees have like a pretty comfortable lead in the division right now. I just didn't expect them to be that strong, especially, at this point in the season. And you could say the same thing about the Mets. It seems like, after you get past the first few weeks, you'd expect something to start going wrong for them. But it feels like no matter, what obstacles they might face, they're still remaining strong.
Yeah, and they're winning how they need to win. Because, like, that's the thing. They're winning low-scoring games. They're winning blowouts. They're doing it all legitimately at this point and really putting up some numbers. Probably my team, which I'm going to do a special shout out to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who legitimately were supposed to be one of the worst teams in baseball, who are only 2 games below 500 right now. Because how the hell is that happening? Up until recently, it's because Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen, and Madison Bumgarner were all pitching great. And then they're all Merrill Kelly and Bumgarner have kind of come back to earth. Zach Galen's still pitching great. And Ian Kennedy is a really great setup man in the Diamondbacks bullpen.
He's back.
Yeah, they brought him back this season.
Wow. I wish you pitched that well for the Phillies, asshole.
Yeah. Which he's doing great as a setup man. And then Mark Melancon is rocking a 6+ ERA right now. But I think if they really want to sell, they have a great chip in David Peralta that they could get something for, because he just hits extra base hits. He hits triples, he hits doubles, he gets on base. He's not going to kill a ton of home runs, but like he is up there in terms of extra base hits in baseball, and that's pretty good. I don't even think Ketel Marte's even having that great of a season either. Varsho, who's on Dave's fantasy team, has a shocking amount of home runs. And he's not even their starting catcher. Carson Kelly is. But who I did want to say is, how are the Twins in first place? How are the Twins above 500?
Rocco Baldelli. They made good pickups, though.
Yeah.
They have Gio Urshela, correct, from the Yankees. They picked him up, I think.
Yeah, they got somebody.
They got Gary.
Yeah, for Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, Josh Donaldson's a dick anyway. You don't want him on your team. He's a candidate.
Did you see he was upset that the Yankees didn't defend him?
No one wants to defend you. You're an asshole. Like
you heard it here first.
I don't
Josh
care.
Donaldson's an asshole.
I don't care what kind of inside joke you have. But you go up to an African-American person, call him Jackie as referring to Jackie Robinson. I'm like, what?
What the hell are you doing?
You're stupid.
Also, I'm looking at the Twins right now. They legitimately have Chris Archer and Dylan Bundy on their major league team. I'm like, wait a minute, they're both in the majors still?
I didn't think Chris Archer was, because he had a huge fall from grace. Look, this is the thing. This is the team. Like, they got Carlos Correa, even though I hate him because Houston and he's a cocky asshole.
Buxton.
Byron Buxton. Even like when he's healthy, he's freaking primo. Gary Sanchez, who's, he can hit some serious bombs, but he'll hit 196. You have Gio. I don't know who Joe Ryan is. Max Kepler. They have Sonny Gray. They have guys to play.
Yep.
They have Miguel Sano.
They're doing well for themselves,
yeah.
And the White Sox are underperforming.
Yeah, and they have Penta Maeda. Like, they still have him.
Yep. And here's a nice segue into who's our underperforming teams.
Is it like the most obvious one? I don't care if you're a Phillies fan or not, but holy shit, man.
It's a lot of money to have.
This is what I said at the beginning when we had our first video. I'm not getting too excited for the Phillies, because any Philadelphia sports fan knows when a Philadelphia sports team goes and buys a bunch of players, it does not. Remember the dream team in Philadelphia, the Eagles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Vince Young, asshole. But anyway, when a Philadelphia team goes and buys a team, they don't win. And even like that recipe still, for basically any team, doesn't work. they need like I have more faith in homegrown teams. That's how the Phillies won the World Series. This is how the Orioles are. They have the record that they have. They shouldn't have 20-plus wins. But they have a bunch of farm guys and really well-placed free agent acquisitions. And you got to go with continuity and chemistry, or because most people don't look at baseball. It's like, yeah, it's really a team sport, but it is when you're going up there and you're like, oh, there's a shift. Look at all that real estate going up through left field. Let's bunt it. Oh no, I'm going to go swing for the fences and try to hit it over the shift.
Because the Phillies can't field for shit.
Yeah, when you are a kid coming up in baseball, you have to show what you can do. You can't just, try to hit bombs all the time. So they have all these kids, the Orioles, and when the Phillies were a homegrown team, it was just, that's how you win. So I feel like that's the best recipe. And now you got all these guys who are literally brought in to hit home runs. They knew going into it, we're not going to field. How do you go into a major league season saying, we're just going to forego a fielding team? We're just going to care about hitting home runs. That's great when you're hitting home runs, except 30 of them are solo shots? That's not going to kill a team. Unless you hit like 7 solo shots in a game. So, and this is another thing. That offense is doing pretty decent. But when you start getting into the bullpen, how many games? I need the numbers at some point to come up with. They have so many games that they were leading at some point. I think they have lost 14 or so games that they were leading at some point in that game.
Not good. Not a good look.
You can't outscore a shitty bullpen.
Oh, because that shitty bullpen give up a lot of runs.
Yeah. So
like that game.
I feel like there's not any other team that's like, holy crap. This team should have been, they should be in first place by a wide margin. But that's paper. And analytics don't always work, just saying. Because if they did, the Phillies would be in first place.
So, Dave, who is going to be your pick for underachieving team?
My pick is going to be the Seattle Mariners. I thought they were going to look pretty good this year. Last year they were very close to breaking into the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they do have good pieces on their team. I even have a few of their guys on my fantasy team, which do pretty well. But, I'm looking at the standings now, and they're 7 games under 500. And that's a pretty big step back from where you'd think they'd be after what they looked like last year.
Mm-hmm.
Even that the AL West as a whole, it just feels like it's more of the same this year. I felt like there was going to be a change where the Mariners might at least be threatening the Angels. I mean, to the Angels' credit, they were doing really well until this losing streak
until 10 games ago.
Yes. And it's just looking like another year where the Astros are going to run away with it. And I don't know, just the division as a whole right now just looks disappointing in that way, because it's just exactly the same as it's always been.
So I know I said when we did this video at the beginning of the season that don't count Houston out of this division again, because I don't think they're done yet. And look what happened.
It's okay. It's 2 months in. It's fine.
Them and the Dodgers. Couple of assholes. Just who won't stay.
But those other two teams that we're talking about, they're still there though.
Mm-hmm.
So just wait it out. But right now, yeah, like I totally agree with you because that's one of my surprise picks for to win a division is the Mariners. And
yeah, same.
When I looked at what's going on with them, I'm like, Jesus, like what the hell's going on?
For the record, the Dodgers are going to win.
Their free agent, their signing of Winker isn't doing too well right now.
Robbie Ray seems to be doing pretty good, but my disappointing team right now is definitely the White Sox, because how the hell do they not have first place in their division?
I think we all had a resounding the White Sox were winning that.
Yeah.
Division. So
like pretty clearly, and it's pretty clear right now they're not playing so great. And I think they're really having some people bomb, like we were talking about with like Keuchel and stuff like that. So like I think it just might be a matter of they're having some players really shit the bed this season. And when that happens, well, if you have the players that you thought were going to help you win do the opposite, lose you a bunch of games, what are you going to do? That's where you're at.
That's where you tend to going into a season. You're not making all these moves because you're like, we have a really good core.
Mm-hmm.
And then that core is just like, I'm not here.
Right. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly as we've been chatting on here for almost an hour at this point. So let's reassess. So Ethan, who's winning the AL East?
The AL East. I still think it's going to be Tampa at the end of the year.
They still are good. They're still in shooting distance. AL Central.
This
is hard now because Keuchel's gone and they have Cueto unless Cueto wakes the hell up. I'm still like it's too early, so I think I'm still going to stick with the White Sox.
AL West.
The AL West. Ooh. There's no way the Angels are going to keep this streak that they got going. So I feel like at some point they're going to wake up again. And it's probably I think the Angels are probably going to take it over by the end of the year at least. So
then the NL East.
I don't want to be that guy who's like, yeah, they're gonna win now. And like Joe Girardi's gone because Joe Girardi, like, he wasn't really, it's not all his damn fault. He did make some really stupid decisions, but if the Phillies keep showing what they're doing now, these 2 games, but it looks like they're gonna play their younger guys, is what Thompson said. And I feel like they're an integral piece to that team. So I feel like the Mets always hit a downturn in the season. So it's probably still going to be the Phillies. It's going to look like an ugly ass division at the end of the year. But I think the Phillies are going to pull it out.
It's NL Central.
The NL Central. Milwaukee.
And the NL West.
Padres.
I knew you were going to say that. Dave, AL East.
I'm still going to stick with my original pick of Toronto. I know that they're, see, right now they're 6.5 back in the division, which is a bit of a sizable gap to climb, but they are. Toronto is still playing really well right now. They've won 9 of their last 10.
Yep.
So I still feel like they're a strong enough team that they have a good shot at it.
AL Central.
I'm still gonna stick with the White Sox, like I did at the beginning of the year. I
Mhm.
agree with you; they have been disappointing, underperforming, but realistically, they're only 5 games back, and
It's a crappy division, so
yeah,
like they
it
can probably come back.
any team has a shot to win that. And since they were so strong last year, if they can just kind of bring back some of what they were doing right last year, I think they do it again.
AL West.
Well, as I was saying before, originally I did pick the Mariners for this division. They have been really underperforming. So as much as I hate to say it, I do think it's going to be Houston again.
NL East.
This one I originally thought was going to be the Braves, but they seem kind of mired in mediocrity right now, like the Phillies are. So I think it is going to be the Mets. Again, I don't like saying that, but seeing the product they put on the field, and especially the fact that so far the Phillies have really not matched up well against them, I think
that's the biggest issue is like head-to-head competition.
Yeah, and I think New York, the Mets have like the biggest division lead out of any of the 6 divisions right now.
Well, and that's what killed the Phillies last year because they made a comeback and then they were like, well, they could win this if they could beat the Braves. Couldn't beat the Braves.
Yeah,
Braves bent them over that last week of the season. So that's a tough. NL Central.
I'll stick with the Brewers for the Central. I think this is probably the division that's kind of lived up to expectations the most. A lot of the teams are kind of right where you would expect them to be. And it is a toss-up between them and St. Louis. The Cardinals definitely could make that push for first place, but for now, I'll stick with my original pick with Milwaukee.
Pujols is going to go on a tear like no other. And then it's going to be like, oh my God, they have Arenado, Goldschmidt, and Albert Pujols.
I would love to see that.
I hope that happens this season. Like, I want to see him go beast mode and get, because what's he need? Like 18 home runs or something, 20 home runs to get to 700 or something. So, like,
hey, Siri.
I want that to happen. And then Dave, NL West.
Home runs is Albert Pujols.
I'll still stick with the Dodgers. I do feel like I thought they would have had like maybe a bit more of a lead than they do right now, but still,
Dodgers are playing really well.
Yeah, so, they definitely have a good shot to overtake them as well. The Giants
they also would have had a better lead if they didn't get swept by the Pirates for the weekend.
You need 17 home runs.
Yeah, that was I don't know how that happens. But I still think they have the best shot. Yeah, the Padres definitely aren't too far behind. Mm-hmm. They still have a decent chance. The Giants are hanging in there. I never really figured them to win the division again. I think they'd still get in on a wild card, but as far as
come for a wild card spot.
Hell yeah.
Out of nowhere. Somehow 4 teams out of the NL West make the playoffs.
It could happen.
So my quick rundown through the divisions. I think the Yankees are going to keep this one because they're looking special right now. I think this is the one division I'm taking a chance on, and I'm going to say the Cleveland Guardians are going to come out of nowhere and stun the Twins, who are going to fall from grace because they weren't supposed to be good anyway. I hate this too, but freaking Houston's winning the AL West again. They're just they started off bad, and then it's like, well, we're Houston, and it's like, well, they look like Houston again, and I don't like that. But to preface all this, we still have 4 months left season, so there's a lot of time to play. NL East. If the Mets were doing this with DeGrom and Scherzer, I would be skeptical, but they're not. And now we'd be like, what the hell are they going to look like when Scherzer and DeGrom come back if DeGrom ever pitches again? I'm going to give it to the Mets tentatively at the 2-month here, but I would not be shocked when we come back in 2 months if they completely tanked by then. But because it's the Mets. The NL Central, this makes me sad, but I do think the Brewers are going to win the actual division. But there's no way in hell the Cardinals aren't making the playoffs. They're definitely going to get one of those wild card spots. And the NL West, Diamondbacks stun everybody and win the division. Just kidding. F the Dodgers and their 10th in a row division win. Because I hate them. I hate them so much. Because we're not biased on here at all. So the last thing we're going to do is our World Series matchup and winner. So Ethan, who's getting to the World Series and who's winning?
I'm sticking with my guns. It's the Blue Jays versus the Phillies.
There you go.
Let's go, Thompson. Let's go.
The Phillies winning.
Yeah, they have to, because they don't have the Tugger. I mean, Wild Thing to blow it. They'll just have Knable maybe if they don't cut him. Please cut him, please.
Brad Hand, new closer. Dave.
I'm still gonna stick with Toronto for the AL. Even if they don't win the division, I still feel like they're really strong and can make that push in the playoffs. And then for the NL, I'm going to say the Padres. Even if they don't win the division, I think they're another team that could make a strong push.
And there's always a good chance the Dodgers will choke in the playoffs.
This is true.
Yeah, they have won World Series in 10 years in a row. So it's like the Braves of the 90s.
It is the Braves. How many division titles did they win? How many World Series did they actually win?
And it had one friggin' World Series.
My prediction is the most boring and most unlikable World Series matchup at this point, and it's the Yankees and the Dodgers, and I think the Yankees are going to win.
It's an old school matchup, though.
It is. It's a tale as old as time, which is really funny because I've been watching. I watched the Winning Time Adam McKay series about the Lakers dynasty launching and stuff like that, and then I watched this They Call Me Magic documentary series on Apple TV Plus about Magic Johnson. How boring is the NBA? The Boston Celtics literally won 9 straight titles in the 70s or something. Who wants to watch that shit? Horrible. And the Lakers were in every final in the 80s. So, and it's happening all over again. I feel like the NBA is that, and that's boring. At least baseball, if you look at the last 10 World Series matchups, they literally had the Mets versus the Royals in 2015.
Yeah.
What the hell is that? So there's some interesting things. But so we got a couple of interesting picks for our World Series and one very uninteresting pick for the World Series. But that's where we're at here. 2 months into the season, we're going to see where things go, and we'll be back again in 2 months at the beginning of July to beginning of August to see where we're at 4 months in, and then we'll definitely be doing a wrap-up of the season. But Ethan and Dave, thank you both for coming on as always.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
And thank all of you for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.